Welcome back to another Millennial in Debt video. If you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscription button below and turn on the notification bell so you get every single time I upload a video. Today we're going to be talking about sinking funds, why they're important to your budget, and why they really give you the amount of freedom that you want, that you need, that you deserve to enjoy your money while still saving, budgeting, investing, and all of that millennial responsibility that we have to do. So let's jump into it. What is a sinking fund? In layman's terms, in the terms that I like to explain things the most, a sinking fund is a savings account. And that savings account is going to be set aside for a very specific reason, whether it is a vacation, whether it is a renewal fee, whether it is a wedding that you are part of. That sinking fund should have some sort of title, some sort of purpose. And you want to make sure that you work backwards. So for example, I'll use what I did to pay off my student loans. I would choose whichever loan I wanted to pay off for that year. So I would work from January of, whatever, we'll do 2022 all the way to December. And I would give myself that amount of time in order to contribute the amount of money that I would need to pay off one student loan. So for example, if I wanted to pay off a $12,000 loan by December, I know that I would have to contribute $1,000 a month into that sinking fund. And in December of 2022, I would use that $12,000 to pay off my student loan. It's important that your sinking fund has a purpose. It is also important that you set up your contributions regularly. I automated them so I wouldn't have to think about it. For example, if you know that you'd prefer to do it daily, weekly, bi-weekly, if you get paid bi-weekly, that's, that works as well, or monthly, and automate that contribution. This also allows you to pay yourself first, which is one of my absolute favorite things. Before I pay anybody else, I like to pay myself. So if you're going to go on vacation, if you are a bridesmaid, if you are, the best man in a wedding, if whatever it is that you have to do, you choose that end date. You work backwards, you figure out how much time you have to get to that end goal, that end amount, and then you set up an automatic payment plan. You can use a sinking fund for anything that you know is coming up. So I have several sinking funds. So let's dive into what those sinking funds are, how much I contribute to them per check, and why I set them up. The first sinking fund that I have is a pet sinking fund. So I have a dog, Noriega. She is turning 14 years old this year. So she is on the older side of the, canine spectrum. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, I started to put aside $75 a month in order to cover any, of her costs. So that could be for food, that could be for toys, that could be for her annual vet visits. And some years we use more of that fund than others. And so whenever I don't use the entire fund, I roll it over into the next year to serve as a buffer, right? Because you never know essentially what your pet is going to need at whatever time. And since Nori is definitely part of my family, I set aside money for her in that sinking fund. My second sinking fund is for subscriptions. These subscriptions pretty much are my Amazon Prime renewal, my homeowner's insurance, and my car registration. Because I know they're going to come every year around the same time, or every other year if it's my car registration, then I know that, okay, this is not an unforeseen expense and I want to prepare for it so I don't have to either, create debt by swiping or go into my emergency savings fund. So for right now, I put aside $50 a month, and that covers, I believe Amazon just went up $120 for the Amazon Prime. I also pay for my car registration, which I think is like $100 something as well every other year. And then my homeowner's insurance I pay annually. My third sinking fund is a vacation sinking fund. I like to travel. This year, I actually just increased the amount of money that I put into my vacation sinking fund, but I've had this sinking fund for the last 10 years before I even knew what a sinking fund was. So I would save $80 per month, and that would go towards travel. Whether or not I use the entire pot, that's fine. Similar to my pet sinking fund, I would just roll it into the next year, and that would act as a buffer. So I would use it either to cover housing, hotel, Airbnb, airline tickets, whatever it is, I would use that money. It also helped me from going, too crazy where I'm like, oh my God, I really want to go to Dubai. And it's like, oh my God, girl, you don't really have the money right now. Try something a little more affordable. Try something a little more locally. It made me a lot more creative with what I did. As I started to make more money, I increased that amount that I would put on a monthly basis. I am now putting $200 a month into my travel fund because I travel a little more. I have a little more money to spend on travel. And so that is what I do for now. My fourth sinking fund is one of my favorites. It is something that I just started doing this year. I was inspired by Cara of We Bravely Go. She has a sinking fund for her friends whenever, they're having a bad day, if they're not feeling so well, if they get sick, or if something really great happens and they want to celebrate. She has that sinking fund set up in order to make sure that, again, she's not spiraling into debt trying to keep up with the Joneses or support her friends, but also it makes her very cognizant that, her friends are really important to her. So what I've done is I've created a friend and family sinking fund, especially since I'm the oldest. I know how things go. And so whenever I want to, celebrate something that my friends are doing or celebrate something that my family is doing that might not have been expected or is just, it just popped up, I have that money in that sinking fund. And I put aside $25 a month into that fund. The last fund is for gifts. It's mostly for the holidays, but sometimes I dabble into it for birthdays or like anything like super major. But it's mostly for holidays and birthdays, and I put $160 a month. This really helps me to do a nice hard stop. I'm a really good gift giver. What ends up happening is I'll find great deals for gifts for my friends and family, and then I'll want to treat myself, right? Because I'm like, oh my God, I saved so much money here. Let me save, spend a little more money on myself. So once that sinking fund for the holiday gifts is up, it's up, right? I am not spending any more money, whether it's on my friends and family or myself, because I want to cash fund my holiday spending. I want to cash fund my gifting so it doesn't, disrupt my budget or add to any credit card debt. Those are the sinking funds that I have. I know that I have, this total amount that I want to put into them, and that's how I break it up monthly. You can do it, like I said, any way you would like. You can have as many sinking funds as you'd like. I like to keep them in a high yield savings. I use Capital One 360, but anywhere that you can access them pretty easily to, pay off whatever it is that you're using or doing, that is really the best way to do it. And it's easy to do for yourself. So this is where I leave you. Hope this was helpful. I hope you open up as many sinking funds as your heart desires, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.